Well, again, welcome to crowd-pleasing hands-on activities for your Eclipse program. We're excited to have you with us today and trying out some of our hands-on activities from the StarNet Clearinghouse. We've got a few featured here for you, and I'll walk you through those step by step. Just to orient you to the platform here, please make sure that you are hearing my voice. There is if you, for any reason that drops off for you, there's an audio solution here for you. Just go to the communicate at the top of your screen and click test audio. That usually gets that put back together for you. And I do have a video going right now, so please make sure that you've got the participants tab open on your right side of your screen. And Teresa, thanks. I see that you've got an echo. Is this any better? All right. Okay. Thank you. Let me know as we go along here. So to introduce myself, my name is Kelly Licorice, and I am the Professional Development Manager here at the National Center for Interactive Learning. And I'll be your host and your presenter for this webinar today, just walking you through some of the hands-on activities that my team and I have identified out from the greater landscape of educational materials and gathered together the best of the best in what we thought was the most appropriate for a library setting, and we put it on the StarNet Clearinghouse. So I just wanted to let you know that we will be going through those step by step, and I did do some tips and ideas as we go along here, and look forward to hearing from you all in the chat section of your screen. So just as you're looking at the screen here, you should be able to see a PowerPoint presentation on the left, and that should be really large for you for the whole presentation. On the right side, there's a participants tab. Please make sure that's expanded so that you can see my video feed as we go along here today. I see there's some notes about bad echo. Let me see if I can get that fixed here. Give me just a moment. And let's try that again. How does this sound? Still an echo. Is that true? It looks like perhaps there's a see. Let me try one more thing here. How about this? Is this better? All right, let's go with that. So it definitely seems like everyone has found the chat section, which is what I wanted to introduce you to next. So please note that as you are going between these, some of them will collapse, including that participants tab, which will make that video disappear. So make sure to open that back up again as we go along. And I'll be opening up some polls from time to time to get your feedback and input as we go along. And I'd love to just see your comments in the chat. And I'm pleased to have my colleague Craig Mosshammer, sorry about that, Craig, you to speak clearly here, joining us. He's going to be in the chat box posting links to where all of these activities are posted, along with resources like books and how-to videos and things, anything we could put together. All of that is on the StarNet Clearinghouse, and Greg will be posting URLs so that you can access those directly and download those for your own use. And please note that the slides will be available as well, so no need to take frantic notes while we're doing this here. And I'd like to make a request of everyone that if you could please keep your comments in that chat section, just to help me and Greg better keep tabs on all the communication that's flowing. That Q&A section there down at the bottom just sends notes to the presenters and not to the rest of the group. So please stick with chat there. And now at this point, I am going to switch my video feed over to a different camera. So I'm going to go off screen here. So give me a moment while I do that. All right, everyone, you should be seeing two small balls set up on my video feed here. And if I could turn your attention back to the PowerPoint slides here, I just wanted to give you a couple of tips and resources as we go along here. Please do feel free, if you're not already a member of the StarNet community, please join us. This is log in to not only get our email newsletter, but also participate in blogs and forums. We also disseminate things like webinar information, like this webinar series. We post information about conferences where we'll be presenting. So please do become a member and interact with us on that platform. And as we're going along and chat opens up or polling and things like that, the WebEx system will collapse the participants view. So please do just click on that, and there's a little caret down arrow if you need to further expand it, but it's under that participants tab. And a couple other things I wanted to let you know about. Our STEM Activity Clearinghouse is something that the Space Science Institute partnered with the Cornerstones of Science to develop, and this contains many, many activities. We're in the process of building the site, and a team of education professionals and I went out and looked for all the best of the best activities we could and cataloged them in this STEM Activity Clearinghouse in order to give you a sense of what ages they should be used with, what kind of books or how-to videos are useful for helping you make use of this activity in your own library programs. So please do check it out, and Greg's going to be continuing to post links directly to where these activities are posted on the Clearinghouse. And I hope you are all familiar already with this campaign that we're running at the Space Science Institute to give public libraries a chance to apply for education Eclipse kits. And so I hope you're already have an application into this, but you should be able to, if you haven't already, please do get the application in. We're closing this on May 1st. So we'd love to hear from your library if you haven't already done this process. All right, so I wanted to give you a question here for your consideration here. And I'm going to open up a poll. And my question for you all is, if you have a ball that's about an inch and then another bead that's about 1/4 of an inch, as you see there in your video feed, then what is the distance that those should be apart? And this is all to scale in order to give you a sense of, you know, if you could shrink down the moon and the Earth, how big would the distance be between those, all to scale. So if you could please just enter your ideas and take your best guess here, and see what you think. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll here. So the results should be popping up here just in a minute. So you can see there's many guesses under, say, 3 inches or so. 10 inches was pretty close. Many people didn't have a guess, and that's quite all right. This is something maybe you haven't thought about before. But let me give you another little bit of information here. So those, if you can kind of peer closely to your screen, you'll see this is a visualization of what our Earth and Moon look like to scale. And this is sort of the perspective from space. And then if you are have open your video feed there on the participants, let me show you what that is on with a yardstick. So this is a handy way to do this activity, is to just prop up that smaller bead, which is the moon on one end, just clip it with a binder clip. And on the other end, we've got the Earth mounted at the other end. So they're about 30 inches apart. So this is a handy way to separate the distance. And if you want to take this even further, of course, this can be an aha moment for many people. Even adults enjoy this kind of thought of, oh, space is really full of space. So all ages, say about 8 and up, can really get something from this. Of course, little kids would love to see this kind of concept and think about it. But really, once they're getting about 8 to 10 or so, then they can start thinking about this really and grapple with this sense of scale. And so even adults can get that, ooh, I didn't know that, and give them a little bit of something to think about with this. And if you want to take this a little bit further, you can take that same set, so just a ball and a bead, clip them to a yardstick, and go outside or find some other light source, really, really bright light source, and you can recreate lunar and solar eclipses using this model. So the idea is to get that light lined up just right so that you can see the shadow cast on the moon or the Earth, depending on which way you're pointing it, to create lunar and solar eclipses. So if you've got the sun behind you and it's shining down on your little bead there, that's the moon, it's going to cast the shadow. And as you can see, our colleague here in this photo, Cindy, is trying to get everything all lined up, and it is a little tricky to get that tiny shadow of the moon right in place on that larger ball that's the Earth. But with some practice and some patience, you can get that shadow to fall on a spot on the miniaturized globe of the Earth. And that is the same kind of idea of what's happening when a solar eclipse occurs. So this is a great way to get people thinking about what it means to have a solar eclipse. And as they struggle with trying to get the shadow to line up, it's also a great reminder that eclipses don't happen all the time for a reason. It does take a little bit of effort for things to line up just right when they're at such an immense scale. And let me close in here on some of the pictures for you. So really what you're trying to do is get this tiny shadow of the moon to fall on that Earth globe. And this is a little tricky again, but it's really reveals things once you get it all put together. Oh, and sorry, let me back up 1 second. Are there any questions about this particular activity? Or have you tried anything similar? Were you planning on using this activity? Any thoughts on this one? It's called Modeling Meaningful Eclipses. It's otherwise known by shorthand as the Yardstick Eclipse activity. So any thoughts on this one? So Stephanie, that's a great question about what you use for the moon and the earth. And let me bring that back into view here on the camera feed. So it is just a 1-inch ball. It's got a little hole drilled in it. I hope you can see that there. And so that's where you just put a toothpick, and that helps you clip it right onto a yardstick. The bead is just a small little bead. Again, it's designed for stringing like on a necklace or something, so you have a hole in it. So anything where they're about that to that scale, so a 1/4-inch bead and a 1-inch ball work well. The moon is about 1/4 of the size of the Earth, so anything of that scale. But you do, of course, have to ramp up the distance apart if you make the balls any larger. So a ping pong ball would be something you'd have to separate even further. Sally, that's an excellent alternative. If you aren't able to do this one, tennis ball and a basketball, who can't get a hold of those? Put those, they're I believe 23.5 feet apart. So that's another easy way to start getting at the scale. There's many activities out there to help get this concept across. And just to note, this is something that as you're doing it with your patrons, they might be struggling with it, getting the shadow and have the aha moment, and then they might start asking questions about lunar phases. And if they do go that direction, then I recommend, really highly recommend another activity by these same authors. It's called Lunar Phases, A Dance Under the Sun, and it's a modification of their kind of tried and true lunar phases activity that's also posted on the Clearinghouse. It's a little bit more of an advanced level of activity for, it does take a little bit of background preparation on the facilitator's part, but it's well worth it. Also, great aha moments. And Sarah, thanks so much for adding the tips in there. If you're having trouble, or if you just really don't want to spend the time looking for things that are the right size, the Astronomical Society of the Pacific does sell these as tips. Again, their activity is posted on the Starnet Clearinghouse, so you can find more information at that site. All right, I'm going to swap out for another activity here. All right, now I have a view for you of a different set of balls this time, and this time the scale doesn't matter quite as much. You can use multiple different objects for this activity. So basically this is, there's many variations on this concept of taking two different spherical types of things or circular kinds of things and trying to replicate how in the world it is that the tiny moon can be just the right size to cover up the sun in our sky. And that all is just the luck of the draw. We happen to live on a planet where our moon appears to be the same size in our sky as the sun. It's complete luck, and what luck we have that we can actually have solar eclipses because of this. So what you're trying to do is set the stage for learners to take a look at two different sized circular or spherical objects and see if they can make the small one totally cover the larger one. So let me give you a sense of how this works in the activity. How can the little moon hide the giant sun? So
learners are given 2 balls and they're asked to separate them. Let me see if I can give you a sense here. As I move the larger ball back, you can see that they're getting to appear to have the same size, even though, of course, you move it back, they're really not. But it's that perspective, and I apologize, my camera won't let me give you quite the same view as you see here with the boy bending down, looking across the table. He's got that perspective of seeing that ball completely cover. Let me see if I can lift this up and give you that sense. Completely covers, so the moon's completely covering the sun. You can do the same kind of exercise with a quarter and a paper plate, and that's an outdoor sort of scale. You can have two individuals really run the distance to get the paper plate completely eclipsed with just a little quarter. So that's another variation on this same activity. And I also see, again, as we're going along and we're seeing chat and moving through different parts of the presentation, WebEx does collapse the participants area of your layout there. So if you go up to the kind of near the top right, there's a participants area. Drop that down, and sometimes there's a little extra little caret figure that you also have to click at the top to get it to drop down. So just keep clicking until it opens up. It's under the participants section. All right, any comments on this activity? Do you feel like this would be something you'd like to try to incorporate? Or would you adapt it? Do you have any comments for it and just how useful it would be? I see some comments that this is looking useful. I do see, and Colleen, I like your point that the paper plate version, it would get people moving around. So yeah, absolutely. If you're already outside, say on Eclipse Day, what a great way to have kids keep busy. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to look at the Eclipse guide that's posted on the StarNet website that really walks you through what an Eclipse event is like. And you have a good 2 hours of kind of just the moon slowly making its way across the face of the sun from our perspective. And that can be a great time to look for ways to channel energy. So running around looking for ways to eclipse a paper plate with a quarter sounds like a great use of energy during that waiting period. I see lots of comments. Please do keep chatting here. And I have a question here I see about, will adult activities be discussed? And Jill, I do recommend that you take a look at the Modeling Meaningful Eclipses activity, talking about scale. That's a great one to engage even adult learners. Really get an aha moment whenever you're introducing them to the true immensity of space. It really is something that all ages can get into. Again, this activity here with just how the little moon can hide the giant sun, of course you could do that with adults. It wouldn't take very long at all. It's just kind of a reminder of perspective that we've all experienced, in our time on this planet. But we will keep touching back to modifications for different ages as well. So please do keep writing down your suggestions for what you would do with these things. All right, so moving on, I'd like to get you get your input on this next piece here. So for the next activity, I want to show you a series of sorting games that we have called How Big, How Far, How Hot. And basically, groups are given images to sort. And this is another one that works with adults. It works with children. It's just a great, it's a passive program. It's a facilitated program. So many things you can do with this. It's very flexible. And I just pulled one of the questions to give you a teaser what people have to think about in order to make their way through this game. And that question is, which is hotter, the surface of the sun or the Earth's core? I'm going to give the poll just a little while. It's going to look blank right now until I close it, and then I'll post the results and we can see what we think, what the votes are. All right, so please do make sure you take a peek there under the participants tab and open that up. There is an image now of the two cards that I'm referring to. So you can give groups of participants a copy of this Earth's core picture, and then one as well that shows what the surface of the sun looks like. If I can move this in reverse. So these two cards are the idea behind this question that I've just shown you, which is hotter. And so there were some great results here. Let me just pull those up. And so lots of different ideas here. The answer is that the Earth's core is hotter in this case. It's just slightly cooler on the surface of the sun. So we're talking 10,800 degrees Fahrenheit versus 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So very similar, but kind of surprising that it would be that much hotter, or that it would be slightly hotter inside the Earth's core. And another fun one is that in this same set, you can consider what the temperature of lightning is. And lightning tops both of these. It's 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So a little bit of a mind bender there with trying to think about, wow, that's the temperature difference there. That's right, Jill. And let me show you just another set here. And again, these will be available on the Clearinghouse. We just updated this with some new images, and this will be posted on the Clearinghouse shortly, so please do take a look for this, but don't feel like you have to go recreate this. We've already got these 3 sets of sorting games for you to be able to print. We recommend laminating them. Libraries have left these out and just had them as a passive program where patrons can walk up and just see the instructions and play with it and follow through. Always some surprises in here. And so here's an example of, with this card set, participants would be asked to order these in as to how large and small they are. So just to give you a sense, in the answer it would be lions are the smallest. So always trying to include something from something familiar, something from Earth, something that they can really get their minds around. Then there'd be some of the larger things like Jupiter, clusters of galaxies. Another one that really trips people up generally is the size of the solar system versus the size of our galaxy, as we use those terms to mean, you know, kind of this place where we live in space, but it's kind kind of stops you for a minute to make you think, oh, the solar system is part of a galaxy, which is many, many, many solar systems all swirling around a center. And so there's just kind of a sense of, oh, we're really just a piece of a much bigger scale. And Greg, thanks so much for keeping these posted and sending people in the right direction to download these cards. Is there any questions or comments? And Margaret, I see yours about Spanish language Eclipse materials. That's something that is in development. Currently, we don't have these cards available in Spanish, although that's a great idea. Hopefully, the pictures are something that that patrons could still make use of in the meantime. But please do include your links to things that are already translated in Spanish, and we'll continue to look for additional resources that could be used there. Cecile, some comments about different resources that are available. So thank you everyone for sharing those as we are going through these. As far as this particular activity, before we move on, I just wanted to double check here. Any thoughts about using these card sorting games? Do you think you'd use them as something you'd facilitate with your patrons, or would you use it as a passive program? I see lots of comments about different ways this could be used. Susan, you're right. This is a fantastic opener for another activity. It's a great way to get people up and moving. And of course, if it's facilitated, it's another way to give each person a card and say, all right, sort yourselves. And then they're moving around and talking with each other to see, oh, hey, I think I should trade with you. And we've even facilitated this very free form and said, here's some images. How do you think they should be sorted? And letting them come up with their own way of grouping them and ordering them. And that's another great way to just, think through how there's no right or wrong answer. This is just a way to organize our universe in a way that we can grapple with it and better understand it. All right, well, thank you all so much for your ideas. Please do keep adding your thoughts on what you would do, how you would adapt this and make it your own. These are all great ideas for everyone to be able to use. So moving on to another angle of this, I'd like to just introduce an app. This is the DIY Sun app out of the Lawrence Hall of Science. And it's an excellent app with a live feed from the sun, as well as hands-on activities. So this is something I highly recommend that if your patrons are in an activity, a program rather with you, and you'd like to give them something to do when they go home, this is a great package for self-directed learning. So the adults and learners of all ages can get a kick out of looking at the Sun Observatory, which features satellite imagery taken from the sun. So these are spacecraft monitoring the sun and pushing that out to you on your iPhone or other, it's only the iPhone platform of devices on this one. But you can see that and play with it, look at the different ways the satellites filter their view of the sun in order to get different information. And of course, there's activities. Several are listed on the screen here, but I wanted to show one in particular. And Vivian, I see your question, will this webinar be archived? And it absolutely will be, so please do check the StarNet website for the recording for this. Give us a day or two to get it posted, but please do feel free to access this as you get closer and closer to August. All right, and I wanted to introduce an activity called Sun Cookies, which is featured in the DIY app, but also available as a standalone activity, and we've highlighted it on the StarNet Clearinghouse. And it is very popular with the children. So let me bring over my cookie example. And this is just a plain sugar cookie, and I've smeared on a layer of frosting, because what would a cookie or a program be without some healthy doses of sugar, right? And our first step here, what we're doing is we're just going to walk through and use some edible materials in order to highlight some of the different features of the sun. And this is something that can be fun during an eclipse, on the eclipse day, as people, again, are kind of looking for things to do as the moon appears to cover, more and more cover the sun and go through the process of the eclipse. It can also be done beforehand so that everyone knows, you know, as they're looking through safe solar viewing devices, can't emphasize that enough, please keep people safe. As they're looking through that, they might be able to see one of these features, and I'll get to that one in just a moment. But this gives you a sense of what it is, what is it about our sun? What are some features? What are some things that people can recognize about its surface? And first step here is to add some sugar. And these are fun. They really look on the sun. The image there on the left is an image of the sun, and they look like sugar, and they're called solar granules. And these are Texas-sized features, so they are massive, but just look tiny kind of compared to the overall scale of the sun. And this is the first feature we wanted to point out. And next, this is a view that might be familiar to many of you. Please give a shout out if you've seen any image similar to this before. This is basically the ball of the sun, so it just looks like a disk here, and then it's got some features on it. So one thing to note is, first of all, the color. Our sun is a white star, so it's got all the colors of the rainbow in it. And when you see these images from space, these are colored because they've been filtered so that the spacecraft can see different features. And so this has got a filter that makes it appear kind of yellowish orange. And if you are going to use, say, binoculars for your solar viewing event, those also have a filter that gives that kind of orangish tint to it. But this is something that's a kind of a common spacecraft image. And then on the features that you see on the sun are called sunspots. And they appear dark to us because they are cooler areas of the sun. These tend to appear on a sticular pattern of 11 years. So right now we happen to be in a time when the sun is relatively quiet. We don't expect to see many of these sunspots at this time. But again, our sun is a dynamic star, and it has surprised us before, so you may or may not see these features, but it is something that is common in spacecraft images of the sun to demonstrate these sunspots. So we are going to add those to our cookie, and we do that 2 at a time. Sunspots are magnetic features. They've got a north and a south end, so we've got to add them in pairs, just like a magnet always has a north and a south. You can use many different kinds of candy for this. Of course, this is a great time to have chocolate. Today I brought Red Hots. Just adding those in pairs. And of course, the kids will know exactly what they want to do with their cookie. They want to lay on as many candies as possible, and they will do it in a way that is artistically pleasing to them. So please let them be creative with this part and add their own flair to it. And our last piece that we're going to add here are some licorice strands, and those are to represent features called solar prominences. And these are gigantic looping arcs that come off the surface of the sun. And when you download the slides, please take another look here at this image that I've downloaded. This is a NASA image, and it shows a little speck there next to those words that say approximate size of Earth. So just to give you a sense that that little speck on your screen is the Earth in comparison with these gigantic features. And today I'm using some yellow Twizzlers here to add my solar prominences. And again, this is a very popular activity with kids. They really enjoy getting the chance to do this kind of experience where they can create something with sugar. I'm not sure if the parents like it or not, but it is definitely an attractor for a program. So any questions or thoughts about this activity? Is this something that you would use in your children's programs? I see a lot of questions here and comments. Overall, it sounds like for kids programs, this might be a hit, but of course, feel free to modify if you have if you're trying to be a little bit more healthy. If you have any suggestions for how to make this a little more healthy, please do let us know. It's always hit or miss whether or not that goes well in programs, we've found. So love to hear if you have some ideas. And I see some questions here. Let me just see if I can pull out some of them. Bethany, I think that's a great idea of having everyone use their Eclipse glasses and then make cookies together. I think it's a great way to help people, here's the sun and then here's the sun up close. That's a great way to, just carry the learning through. And Jeff, it's a great point about using art and crafts materials. There is an activity on the Clearinghouse that uses basically construction paper and paint. Though the kids can paint a sun, just draw a circle, and then they paint it in with some different sun colors, and then create a sort of black disc, and then use a brad to pin that in front of the sun, and then that way they can pull the moon in front of the sun and make an eclipse using the art that they've just created. So that's a great alternative activity. We'll keep looking for others, and if you find any, please send them my way. I'd love to hear what you have found valuable. And there's a couple comments and a question about sunspots. So sunspots are, I like to imagine a horseshoe magnet. So if you could bury a horseshoe magnet under the sun, it would produce the same kind of effect as those sunspots are that we're seeing. So they've got a north and a south, and they've got magnetic fields that we can't see with our eyes, but definitely can be detected in other ways that is very similar to a horseshoe magnet. So just as a horseshoe magnet has those two ends, those sunspots have to come in pairs. Michelle, I love your idea of using glitter or colored sand and different sorts of craft materials as a way to do this instead. And of course, Play-Doh and things like that, in case you don't want to include sugar. These are great suggestions. Molly, I love it. Cream cheese and then adding veggies. Imagining slices of bell pepper coming out as solar prominences. I love it. Thanks everyone for your ideas. These are great. All right, moving on, I do want to bring up a couple of resources that you could use in addition to this. So as you are planning your programs, you might consider incorporating technology. So that, of course, there's the DIY Sun app, and then there's a suite of games that were developed here at the National Center for Interactive Learning, and they're all posted online as under scigames.org. They're also available under Play Stores, Android and iPhone devices. And of course, you can also use them on your computer if you don't have either of those. But there's two that I wanted to bring up that are just fun ways to carry on this same idea, carry on what you were exploring with the Sun Cookie and add in some technology. So as I mentioned, different spacecraft are observing our sun, and they use different filters in order to find different features. And I can't think of a better way to explore this effect than the Solar Vision game, which allows you to pick which filter you would like to use. So you can look at it in visible light, in which case we have a white star with some dark sunspots on it, or you can use an H-alpha filter or X-ray. And as you do each of those filters, different features become visible that were not visible to the naked eye, or to just even a filtered telescope couldn't see them. So these are this is an amazing way to really understand what's going on with our sun, and using different kinds of light to see to be able to interpret what features are there on our sun. So really a great way to explore, basically just taking a little box and you drag it around and try to find the different features, and it walks you through and lets you, step by step go through and find each feature and just build on what you've learned from the prior experience. One other game I wanted to point out is a maze. So this is a fun twist on a maze. You are a photon starting at the very center of the sun and slowly making your way through this massive star out to the surface so that you can shine out onto the universe. And as your photon goes along, the clues are that you're trying to build a phrase. And you can see at the bottom of the screenshot here, I was starting to make progress on that phrase. And it's something that, you get a message, kind of a learning moment at the end, but it's just a fun game of a maze, and kind of that experience of seeing how in the upper right corner there, the years just whoosh by, and it gives you a sense of how this photon has to take a really long time to get from the center of the sun before it finally makes its way out to the surface and can be the light that we can see shining down on us. So a fun, engaging way. Lots of people enjoy playing these kinds of games, so please check them out. And at this point, I brought up just a thank you slide, but I hope you'll stick around for a few minutes here and chat with me. I'd love to hear more about what you're planning for the eclipse. Are you do you have some programs going on over the summer to get people ready? Are you planning something for the big day? And just what new ideas have you gotten from this webinar and the chat experience here that could help you with those plans? So I'm going to take a look through here back at the comments. I just want to also put out a post there. The Web Junction just posted a blog article that I wrote, basically trying to pull together some of the best programming ideas that we've been seeing. Really some clever ideas, and we'd love to make sure that those are all shared far and wide. So please check out that article for even more ideas. And we really appreciate all of your thoughts here on the chat. Which again is recorded and available for others to use, so that we're not all reinventing the wheel and can use these great ideas to do our programming. As you are getting ready for the summer and doing your programming, if you have any additions to the Clearinghouse, any tips, suggestions, please feel free to email me. We are online on Facebook, Twitter. There's our website, and please do check out that quick survey there. Greg, thank you very much for putting in that link there. We'd love your feedback on if this kind of webinar is useful for you. So please do share that there. For those of you that can stick around and share your programming ideas, I see lots and lots of ideas going around, doing some preparation kind of experiences beforehand, getting everybody ready over the summer. Of course, kicking things off in June and doing things in July, just really keeping it going, and we're delighted to see that so many communities will be looking upward before the eclipse even happens. Greg, do you have the link to that Eclipse guide handy? Wanted to just put a plug out for that. It's on the StarNet website, and it's got some great tips for as you're doing all of these programs and you're helping people look at the sun. Please do check this out, because we can't emphasize enough that it's important that everyone be safe. We don't want anyone looking at the sun without proper eye gear, and that can be some Eclipse glasses. There's 3 factories that create Eclipse glasses that are to safety standards, so please check out those recommendations in the Eclipse guide, as well as alternative ways. You don't have to buy a thing. There's pinhole viewers that we'll cover in a later webinar that are a very cheap way to make sure everyone can see the eclipse safely. So please do check that out. Make sure you're keeping safety as part of all of these great and amazing things that you have planned for the summer. Darlene, I love your idea of partnering with science teachers so that you can encourage their participation. One link I'm going to put in the chat is to WGVH. They are, it can't be familiar to you, they're one of those main PBS developers, but they have an amazing collection of resources that they have put out there for teachers. So a great way to make sure that they're being looped in into this eclipse promotion and kind of gearing up and getting ready. Bethany, it looks like maybe you stumbled upon the solar power section, another collection on the Clearinghouse. I'm glad you made that connection. That's a great direction to go. Sounds fun. And Luna, you mentioned your binoculars and having those available for checkout. Are those sunoculars or a different kind of binoculars? Tracy, I'm curious, you posted about getting ready for the eclipse in July, but also trying to incorporate this into the Build a Better World summer reading theme. How are you going about doing that? Do you have a spin that you might like to share with everyone else? Betsy, that sounds super fun to use the solar cookers. I do recommend that you test those. Some of them work better than others, so I just recommend, I'm sure you can find a way to make it work. I just encourage you to make one and check it out before you do the program itself. And Luna, I love that you have binoculars available for checkout. Please do make sure you're encouraging people to use those at night. Those are not okay to use for looking at the sun. They actually can cause eye damage because you're looking at the sun and it's magnified. So it's even worse than looking at the sun just with your naked eye. So please do make sure that binoculars are something that people are using for night viewing. Looking at the moon, oh, what a great way to look at the moon. Just all the craters and mountains and things that you can see. The moon is a great thing to look at with binoculars, especially when it's first quarter or just half of a circle or so, not all the way lit, then it's not too bright to look at. If you would like them to look at the sun, make sure to check out the solar eclipse guide that Greg posted here in the chat. It's got excellent tips from 2 astronomers / educators about how to help people look at the eclipse safely. And there's lots of ways. It's just not with regular binoculars and telescopes. So we just want to make sure that you have those resources at your fingertips. Laura, I love your idea that ramping up your summer reading program to do better, build a better world, and then you're going out of this world. That's a wonderful connection. And Savitri, please do make sure you're signed up for our StarNet newsletter. We don't have the date quite set for the Pinhole Viewer webinar. I'm working with an astronomer to get a date so that we can do that presentation together. So stay tuned to the StarNet news. Make sure that Emma is an allowed provider. That's the service we use for our email. So stay tuned for that one. And again, thank you all so much for joining us for this webinar. I hope you got useful ideas on activities and were able to share some great suggestions in the chat and get some ideas that you can use for your own communities. Thank you all for all that you do, and good luck with your programs. We'll be in touch with our newsletter and love to hear from you as you get all of these programs running. Thanks again.